Okay, let's get started. Welcome to this webinar, upgrading to Zabbix 6. And well, as we all might know, Zabbix 6 is not yet released, yet we have this webinar. And actually there's a good reason for it, because the upgrade path is known already, so we can prepare. Let me first introduce myself. My name is Brian van Baekel, working at Open Source ICT Solutions, and I'm working as a Zabbix trainer, Zabbix consultant. We have companies in the Netherlands. I am based in the Netherlands, United States, United Kingdom. And from there we are, well, operating all over the world, providing hopefully the best Zabbix services available. And yeah, let's see how we can upgrade a Zabbix instance to Zabbix 6. First things first, why? Well, Zabbix 6 is the new LTS, and LTS is long-term support, which means that it is actually supported for up to 5 years. So if you are using, I don't know, Zabbix 4 right now or Zabbix 5, soon the full support will end, and then you need something else, well, that is supported for a longer period. Then, well, Zabbix 6 comes into play. Another reason to upgrade, new features. And I see there's a typo on the slide, packed with new features. There are so many new things integrated natively in Zabbix 6 that, well, I think it's worth upgrading as soon as possible. Of course, because of those new features and new things, we have other requirements. And, well, one of the first things to look at, supported databases and the changes there. So there is a table here showing the differences for MySQL Percona in Zabbix 4, Zabbix 5. MySQL 5.7 was supported. Well, that one is dropped, and we only support right now MySQL Percona 8. Is that problematic? Not really, but it means you have to upgrade your database engine, of course. For MariaDB, which was not listed separately in the older versions of Zabbix, right now 10.5 or 10.6, which is the latest right now. For Oracle, 19C till 21C, Postgres 13 whatever branch, TimescaleDB, which is an extension for Postgres, only TimescaleDB 2.0.1 and 2.3, and SQLite for the proxies, of course, 3.3.5. So yes, there are some changes. Yes, you must upgrade your database as well, but actually that's not really too hard to get going. And what you get in return, better performance, more security. So it's not really a bad idea to upgrade anyway. What else is changed? The minimum operating system versions. So, and I know there are a lot of complaints about it. With Zabbix 5.0, Red Hat CentOS 7 was supported. Starting from 5.4, that support was dropped, and only Red Hat CentOS 8 is supported. And yes, we are aware of the complaints, but actually Zabbix had a very good reason to drop support of Red Hat CentOS 7. Security. There were so many, well, outdated security packages on those older versions that they said, well, we are only going to support Red Hat CentOS 8. With the knowledge we have now, where CentOS 8 is not an official supported version anymore, it's a bit annoying, but still, yeah, Zabbix is not going to support Red Hat CentOS 7 anymore. It's not officially confirmed, at least not as far as I know, but there is a very good chance that Alma Linux and Rocky Linux will be supported by Zabbix as well. Again, not confirmed, but there's a good chance. Oracle Linux, roughly the same thing, only Oracle Linux 8. For Ubuntu, no changes. So 18.04, 20.04, and Debian 10, Debian 11. So no changes there, yet it is recommended to upgrade it. There are, in every version, every operating system, new security features, better performance. Okay, how to get this going? Well, step number one, upgrade your operating system. Step number two, upgrade your database, and eventually your Zabbix instance. Now, as there are so many different operating system database combinations, we cannot really, well, show in this webinar how to do this. For as far as I know, every OS, every database, there is a nice guide on the internet guiding you through that upgrade path. So that should not be, well, a problem to Google and find how things go. In order to upgrade your Zabbix instance, we have a lot of different steps, and we will, well, take a look at those steps and see how things work. So stop your existing Zabbix server, stop your existing processes. I think two extremely important steps here: back up your existing database and make a backup of your configuration PHP binary. And if everything goes well, hopefully you won't need them. But in that small chance that there is something breaking, you might want to, well, return to a previous known version. And then basically the backups are essential. So highly recommended there. Once the backup is complete, update the repository and just start upgrading the Zabbix components. We have a lot of slides covering that process, so bear with me, we will go over it. Once the components are upgraded, we have to check the mandatory configuration updates. In the configuration files, there are extra parameters, extra options, and some of them are mandatory to, well, change whatever has to be changed there. So after upgrading the components, it's a nice moment to review those changes. Then it's quite easy, start the processes. Zabbix will automatically upgrade the database internally, the database, and you should be good to go. Now, a typical issue is the last step, where cookies and cache in your browser are causing problems. So it's always recommended to, well, clear those so you don't see any strange things in the web front end going on. Okay, step by step. Number one, stop the Zabbix processes. And that's, well, somewhat important, as you don't want new data to be written into the database, because we should upgrade the database as well. So system control stop Zabbix-server on Red Hat CentOS, or on Debian Ubuntu. Well, system control should work as well, but according to the Zabbix guide, service Zabbix-server stop. Give it a few seconds and all processes should be stopped. At this point, make a database backup. So there is no new data written into the database. Make a database backup. Typically, when we are talking about database backups, there are way too many variables to, well, change and to tweak and to get more performance out of it. But the most basic commands, MySQL dump database name Zabbix, -u username, -p password, and we are pushing it into zabbix.sql. For Postgres pg dump, -F-C Zabbix, and pushing it into zabbix.dump. This might take a long time. It really depends on the database size. It really depends on all those variables, all those settings to get more performance out, but this might take quite some time. So sit tight, wait, and eventually you have your database backup. Next step, make a backup of your configuration files. And here, both options for both Red Hat and Debian operating systems are the same. Create a new directory, mkdir, opt zabbix-backup, and we copy the Zabbix server config into it, and we copy the HTTP config into it. There's a small difference on Debian Ubuntu where HTTPD is called Apache 2, but it's the same configuration that should be backed up. So this should take a few seconds. Then we do the same thing for the PHP files and the Zabbix binaries. So we copy complete directories, user share Zabbix and user share doc Zabbix -- so everything. And we push those in those same opt Zabbix backup directory. This should take only a few seconds. Once done, it's time for the next step, update the repository packages. And Red Hat CentOS, it's rather straightforward, rpm-uvh, and then pushing that repo.zabbix.com URL into it. So this one should be pretty straightforward. There we are. If you try this right now, you will probably get a 404 because 6.0 repository is not available yet. Beta 2 is released, and as long as we don't have a stable, it's called Zabbix 5.5. But at this point, it's not recommended to upgrade to those beta releases, of course. On Debian and Ubuntu, there are a few more steps that we should take. So we should remove etc apt sources.list.the zabbix.list. And then, well, using wget, getting back that repository file. And there it depends, of course, on the operating system, which one should be used. So in red, Debian 9, 10, 11. Once that repository file is there, dpackage-i, Zabbix release. And on Ubuntu, it's just the same thing, but then we are talking about Ubuntu instead of Debian. Once done, apt get update. Should take a few seconds, but then it's finished. And time to actually upgrade the repository, actually upgrade the components. So on Red Hat CentOS, yum or DNF upgrade Zabbix-server-MySQL, Zabbix-web-MySQL, Zabbix agent. Of course, if you do not use MySQL with Postgres, replace the MySQL with PSQL. Then if you are coming from an older operating system, you should also install Zabbix-apache-conf. And again, that's only if you are using Apache as a web server. On Debian Ubuntu, apt-get install -- only -upgrade. Roughly the same thing. Zabbix-server MySQL or PSQL. Zabbix frontend PHP, Zabbix agent. Zabbix agent is by default installed, but of course, this might be the right moment to migrate your Zabbix agent into Zabbix agent 2. And in that case, don't upgrade the old agent, just install Zabbix agent 2. There is a note at the bottom. Make sure you have the correct PHP version as well. In all the versions of Zabbix, PHP 5.4 was also supported. Right now, that is not the case anymore, and we should have PHP 7. And from top of mind, 7.2. something. PHP 8 is not supported yet. So be careful there. We should really stay within PHP 7. Once you have done this, see if all the configuration changes are done or what should be done. So make sure you have the correct database version, of course, supported versions only. And check the upgrade notes to see if there are mandatory configuration changes within the Zabbix server config mainly. And this is also the moment to make a decision whether you want to use primary keys for your history tables or not. We'll cover it later because it takes a few slides to explain. But this is the moment, should we be using them or not yet? Okay, once this part is done as well, start the Zabbix server, start the Zabbix agent. System control start Zabbix-server, Zabbix-agent. Debian Ubuntu, roughly the same command or servers, Zabbix-server, Zabbix-agent start. At this moment, we start the Zabbix process, and the Zabbix server will actually do an internal upgrade of the database. I have tested it a few times with what was it, 60 or 80 gigabyte database, and it took minutes. Nothing too bad. Of course, if you have, I don't know, a 1, 2, 3 terabyte database, this might take a bit of time again. So yeah, just wait till the thing is finished. You can check the log files, var log Zabbix, Zabbix_server.log, and you can see just the progress there. So you can keep track of what's going on. Last but not least, clear the cache, clear the cookies. One of the most annoying things when you log in after an upgrade, just to see that the front end had some changes and everything is garbled. That's quite annoying. So the fix is, well, pretty straightforward. Clear the cookies, clear the cache, log in again, problem solved. At this point, you should just have an upgraded Zabbix instance. I mean, it can be very complicated, can be time consuming, but these are basically the steps. Now let's get back to the primary keys, or not. With the introduction of Zabbix 6, we suddenly have primary keys on all history tables. And there are a few benefits, better performance, and it really depends on who is answering this question, how much performance increase you have. Some say around 30%, others say, well, just a minor improvement. I don't know, to be honest. I know there is some performance, but I can't really tell how much performance improvement you have. What I do know that there is a significant less disk usage, and it was reported up to 30%, which is significant if you ask me. So those are the benefits. Are there drawbacks? Yes. One, you have to do a conversion there, and that's a manual conversion. Zabbix is not helping you. You really should do a manual conversion. They are providing the scripts, of course, but you should initiate it yourself. Drawback, it's time consuming. Last time I tested on a 45 gigabyte database, it took me roughly 1 hour, 10 minutes. So that's time consuming. Okay, so that's one of the prerequisites, enough time. Performance depends, of course, on the resources on your Zabbix server or your database server, but it's time consuming. Another thing, in order to get that conversion going, we should export the history tables, create new tables, import the history tables, and then we have the old tables, the temp files used to import, and the new tables. So that means to, well, have roughly the database size multiplied by 3 to get, well, this conversion going. And that's the one part that really annoyed me, because I don't have my database size multiplied by 3 on most systems as free disk space. I will only cover MariaDB or MySQL Red Hat here. There are other guides on the Zabbix website. So if you go into the documentation, there are guides for Postgres, for MariaDB, for Oracle, etc., etc. I will just cover one part here, otherwise it will be a 3-hour webinar, and that's not what it should be. So just one, well, type here. Again, make sure the Zabbix server is not running. And actually, I think if you want to migrate into primary keys, you should be doing it just before you start the upgraded Zabbix server. So it should be stopped already. But for completeness, for everything, system control stop Zabbix-server. Then it's time to do the actual conversion. And this one is coming from the Zabbix website, MySQL, -u username, -b password, database name. And we are pushing a script into it. User share doc, Zabbix-SQL-scripts, MySQL history _pk, primary keys, prepare.sql. And this will, well, the script is pretty straightforward. Rename the history tables to the history_old and create new history tables. So that's actually what this script is doing. And it should not take a lot of time to get this going. It's just a rename. Now, make a new directory, forlib mysql -files. Why? Well, if we are doing that conversion, then we should be writing the history tables to some sort of directory, mysql-files. Let's make also sure change owner to MySQL so that the database engine can actually write into this directory. And then if you have a partition database, this is the moment to recreate the partitions. So in the previous slide, we saw that conversion script. Then new tables are created, but those tables are created without partitions. So you have to create them yourself again. It's not complicated. It's not time consuming, but it's rather important if you have a partition database to get your partitions back. Okay, once done, jump into your database and set the max execution time to 0. Basically disable it. Why? Well, those commands, those next queries will take some time. So max execution time should be set to 0. And from there, we start the actual conversion. So on the website of Zabbix, there are all the commands, but it is basically select everything into out file. So we are exporting it into a CSV file with comment delimited. We are escaping, etc., etc. And we are doing this, let me find my cursor, from one history_old table. So here's all the historical data, and that's the old table. Once everything is converted into a CSV file, we start loading it. And we load it from that CSV file into the new history table. And from there, we will have the primary keys because this new history table is created with primary keys. Now, this example is only about the history tables, but we have 5 for them. So history_old, and this one was executed in the previous slide, but we have 4 orders, unsigned integers, string, log, and text. All of them should be converted with that same command as we saw in the previous slide. Exported into a CSV, imported into that new table. Again, time consuming, but pretty straightforward. Just issue those commands, grab a cup of coffee and wait. That's basically all you have to do. Once everything is finished, start your Zabbix server, confirm that everything works as expected, and there you are. You have primary keys. Now, if you are following the Zabbix website guide, that's perfectly fine. It's basically this guide. There is only one step missing. Drop table. All the old tables should be dropped, but also remove that comma separated files. And that last one, that step is missing. So they are telling you to drop the history old tables, but they are not telling you to remove that comma separated files. And as all the data is there, that's roughly the size of your database. So it's important to get rid of that one as well. Basically, this is it. I mean, I can talk another hour about all the bells and whistles, but basically, this is it. It's not really that complicated. The process is pretty straightforward. And yeah, after this, you should have a new Zabbix 6.0 instance. If you want to learn more about Zabbix, as we are an official premium Zabbix partner, but also an official trainer, we are providing all training courses that are built by Zabbix. So right now we have 4 of them: the one-day user training, 5-day specialist training, 3-day professional training, and another 5-day expert training. The moment Zabbix 6 is released is the moment those trainings will be about Zabbix 6. Right now, we are still giving the 5.0 trainings, but once Zabbix 6 is released, immediately we will convert everything into Zabbix 6. What we are also providing is official support contracts. So there are various tiers of support. Silver is obviously the cheapest one. One of the most popular ones is Platinum, where you get remote troubleshooting, unlimited number of tickets, but also a very nice one, if you ask me, Enterprise. It's not cheap, it's not that expensive, but it is giving you a lot of options. I mean, remote troubleshooting, performance tuning, user training, up to 50 people, specialist training, professional training, up to 5 attendees. And those are just included within the support contract. So it's not only support, it's also about getting trained. Now, as you have seen from those last 2 slides, we are providing services. And as the product is free, that's the only thing we are doing, providing services on that product. So we are providing technical support, the contracts 24/7, professional training. If you want, we can upgrade your instance to the latest version, building custom integrations, providing turnkey solutions. One thing that I really enjoy, template building. For whatever device you can imagine, we are building the templates, remote troubleshooting, and of course, consultancy services. Those services, all of those services are provided by one of our 3 companies. So I started the webinar. We are based in the Netherlands, and we do have offices in the United States and the United Kingdom. So it really depends on where you are located, which company will provide you services. That's it for today. If you have any questions, drop them in the Q&A and I will try to answer them. So I'm kind of wondering, depending on the case, is it better to perform the cleanup step before or after start of the Zabbix server main process? What do you exactly mean with that cleanup step? Is that regarding dropping the old tables? If it is regarding old tables, I would say after starting the process. It actually means that, well, Zabbix will just start, it will write into the new tables, but it will not touch the old ones. And that's giving you the opportunity to see that everything works as expected. And only if everything works, then throwing away your, well, valuable data. So if it's regarding dropping the tables, throwing away those comma separated files, I would do it after starting it, after confirming everything works. Large scale of installation with Zabbix on Prime or Docker. Not sure what you mean with Prime. Large scale instances. I'm a huge fan of Docker, to be honest. It works solid. We have seen, well, somewhat bigger instances working perfectly fine. So I would not see any reason not to use Docker. What do you mean with HA on Prime? Not sure what you mean there, so hard to answer. Where can I see the recorded session? Because I missed most of it today. We do have a YouTube channel, and this session will be presented on that YouTube channel in, well, I think like an hour or something. So find our YouTube channel, find our LinkedIn page, and you will definitely have the opportunity to, well, see this recorded session. If we are starting to deploy Zabbix, should we start now with 6.0 beta or go with Zabbix 5. whatever and update? I have a very, very clear view on that one. Zabbix 6.0 is beta, and beta should never be used in production environments. So if you are planning to deploy it only to see the features, go for it. If you are planning to deploy it in a production environment and rely on it, don't. And then just go for 5. Well, in this case, 4.9 and perform an upgrade. But I don't like beta in productions. When do you expect Zabbix 6 LTS is stable? Well, very good question. I don't know. It was originally planned for October, delayed till November. Then it was planned for half December. Because of the holiday season, it was planned for halfway January. And I hope early February, so in like 1.5 or 2 weeks. We are at the second stable, or sorry, at the second beta. So the next step is probably release candidate 1, release candidate 2, and then it will go fast. So yeah, I don't have a set date, a set moment, but I kind of expect it first or second week of February. But again, I'm not working for the company Zabbix, so I might be off here. Any other questions I can try to answer? Anything else? If there are no questions, yes, Zabbix 6.0 version does have HA. Do you have an HA webcast? I think we do, but let me actually check on the Zabbix website. Community webinars. Installation, quick introduction. There we are. So the first one that is planned right now is March 10. Probably it will be earlier, but just check zabbix.com/webinars and well, see the latest schedule of which webinars are available. In case there are no questions, I would like to thank you for attending this webinar. I would like to thank you for all the questions, all the things that were asked. Thank you. Enjoy your day and hopefully see you somewhere soon in another webinar.